Hey everyone, how's it going? It is another Taco Tuesday, and I'm sure everyone is super excited, especially about today, because I'm not sure what's going to happen this week. I don't know why there's so many people coming early to today's Taco Tuesday. I'm not sure. It's almost like we're giving away an iPad or something like that. But thank you so much. Welcome to another Taco Tuesday. It is the 14th Taco Tuesday. And 14th Taco Tuesday, but before this, we've had other stuff too. We had, what was it before? It was Lockdown Tuesday. So it's really, really exciting. We hit 1,000 subscribers, and now everything is getting bigger and bigger. So I'm super happy and thankful for all of you guys. Let's do some shout outs. Shout outs for those of you who came out early today. We have Chris, we have Yen Yu, we have Jet, we have Yanlan, Ayaka, Rosarin, Wenwen. We had tons and tons of people that are coming early and chatting up a storm, and I'm really thankful and grateful. Oh, you know what it is? It's time to check out what you guys are drinking. Yes, I'm drinking tea live, okay? And I am having my, is an Earl Grey latte, right? No, not a latte. Earl Grey milk tea, no sugar. Delicious, really good. And you know, there's actually a really good deal because for like 12 ringgit, you get this and like popcorn chicken for like 12 ringgit. I don't know. I just, it was such a good deal for me. Either way, so grateful and thankful all of you are here. Thank you for coming to the 14th Taco Tuesday. A couple things. Yes, this is the week we're giving away the free iPad. And if you look at kind of the people joining right now, like even if I look on YouTube, if there's like right now there's about 30 people on YouTube. Can you imagine if one of 30 are going to win an iPad? You know what that means? That means that your chances of winning an iPad is crazy, crazy high, right? But let me just go over a couple of things, a couple of the rules just to make sure it's in your head. Number one is subscribe to the YouTube channel, Espresso with Sky. Number two, follow me on my Instagram, right? That's number one. Second thing is, during today's talk, there's going to be a keyword, right? And this keyword, you need it. You need the keyword today so that you can write this keyword on Thursday when we're actually gonna do the draw, okay? So sometime during today's talk, there's gonna be a keyword that pops up. Just remember, you have to remember that keyword, okay? Last but not least, you must join Bubble Talk live on Thursday. So this Thursday, you must be on live. You can't win without coming to the live Bubble Talk. So this is something that some of you in America might have to wake up at like 5 a.m. for like this, right? But just altogether, just know that you have to be here for the live. You only get one, you get one entry per person. Either way, okay? So I don't think there's any questions. If you do, you guys can just ask, I guess, right? But now we're gonna talk about today's talk. Today's talk is a story of Judas. And if you have any questions about today's topic, you guys can go ahead and write that question anytime you want. Any questions that you want to ask during the Q&A we have at the very, very end. Okay, so let's get into today's talk. And today's talk is about Judas Iscariot. Okay, there's tons of Judas in the Bible, but we're gonna talk about Judas Iscariot. Okay, so everyone grab your bubble teas, your espressos, your coffees, whatever it is, take a sip, and let's get into today's story. All right, so Judas Iscariot, right? And some people were even asking me, why would you want to talk about him? Because, he is someone everyone knows, right? He is not famous, but he is infamously famous as the one who betrayed the Lord, right? So it's kind of like, oh my goodness, why would you want to talk about this guy and his life? Okay, now he's infamously famous. He's the one that betrayed the Lord, but he was also one of the 12, right? He's someone that Jesus handpicked to be one of the 12 apostles. And, his betrayal actually led to his early death. Okay, it was a very unnatural death. Now, some people might say that, you know what, this guy, Judas was chosen by God to betray the Lord, and he's just doing what God wanted, these are arguments people are going to make. And then later on, he dies. And in the Bible, there's like two different types of deaths he had, right? For those of you who don't know, in Matthew, he talks about him hanging himself. Okay, so that's pretty brutal. That's suicide right there, right? And then the second one is he fell on his face, and then his intestines and guts just fell out of his stomach, right? So it's kind of like, wow, so which one actually happened? So, it's possible both can happen. If he hung himself, and then he was hanging there so long for months and months, he decomposed, fell on his head, and then guts fell out. Right? So, that's possible. And there's just theories we can have, but we know that he died shortly after, okay? Shortly after he betrayed the Lord, he died. Okay, so we know this much about him, but what we're going to do is we're going to go over some key points and some stuff about his life so that we can learn about this story, the story of Judas. Okay, so let's go into the story of Judas Iscariot. And of course, we don't know much about him. We only have what we have in the Bible and what people have kind of said that was possible that was happening in his life. Now, the first thing we need to know is this. Judas Iscariot wasn't bad from the beginning. He was actually good in the beginning. Okay? So you got to understand this. He was a good person in the beginning. And a lot of scholars say that, yeah, maybe he was probably someone where his parents were Sadducees. And he was possibly even a follower of John the Baptist before he came to Christ. Which means that he was someone searching for righteousness. He was someone in this very religious family life, right? His personal life was very religious too. So he was searching for something, right? He was someone that was believing in God. He was a faithful Jewish person. So he was a good person. Now, what makes it even better was he was someone who was literally chosen by Jesus. So Jesus doesn't choose wicked people, right? He was chosen by Jesus to become one of the 12, right? One of like the 12 of many people that could have been chosen. He was one of the 12 apostles. So even that, we know that, wow, this guy was pretty good. Some other things you need to know is he was a powerful person, right? He was a powerful person when Jesus sent the disciples, out in twos. Guess what he gave them the power to do? To heal and to cast out demons. And Judas Iscariot was a part of it. He was someone healing and casting out demons, right? So you're not going to think that a wicked person does that. Do wicked people go heal someone? No, because a wicked person is going to be like, oh, die from your disease. Blah, and they'll make fun of him. But instead, he's the one healing them instead. People are like possessed by demons. He's the one that's doing what? He's actually casting out demons. So you need to know that he was doing good stuff. He was a part of that. He had the power to do those things. So you're not looking at someone who was just a wicked person from the beginning. On top of this, he was the treasurer. Okay, he was the treasurer of the apostles. You know what that means? It means that no one just gives the position or mission of treasurer to just anyone. It goes to someone who is very, very trusted, right? So he was trusted not only by Jesus, but by the apostles in general. So here's this trusting healer casting out of demons, someone who was like living a good religious life even from the time of his parents. So what were the things that kind of got a little bit, made things a little bit worse? Well, on top of this, later on, we see that he did have some instances where he was kind of like a lover of money, okay? And like he loved money a little bit too much, right? More than someone should, right? And this is why they said that he was someone who freely took from the treasury. So he was in charge of the treasury and he freely took from it, which is pretty crazy, right? And then, of course, when you get to the ending, he's the one that eventually took 30 pieces of silver to betray the Lord. So he was someone that actually betrayed the Lord. And then, they call it the kiss of death because, when he went to show everyone who Jesus was, he said that when whoever I kiss, he's the one you arrest. And of course, when he meets Jesus, he hugs him and kisses him on the cheek, and then they arrest him. So they call that the kiss of death. Okay. So, and then right after that, like we said before, death followed shortly right after that. Okay, so now this is kind of like the things that were going on in Judas Iscariot's life. And the question now is, what are the 3 things that we can learn from his life? Okay, what are the 3 things we can learn from the life of Judas Iscariot? Now, you kind of wonder, well, why would you choose someone like this? And the things we do know is some of the greatest lessons in life are not from the successes, but actually some of the greatest life lessons we learn are actually from our mistakes. They're actually from things that we did bad. We do bad things and we actually feel it a lot more. When you do bad, you feel the sadness, the guilt, the discouragement, and you learn from it, right? And this is why we're not going to just learn from those. Like if you look at the Bible too, the Bible has so many different stories. Half of them are good and half of them are bad. Actually, probably more than half are bad, right? But we're learning from all these stories. And that's what we're going to learn today from Judas Iscariot. So what are the 3 things we can learn? Number 1, the first lesson we're going to learn today is don't make money your master. Okay, this is one of the reasons why Judas Iscariot was able to fall over. Okay, because he made money his master. Now, what does that mean? Like, I'm not going to go into this thing like money doesn't mean anything, because that's totally not true. Money means something in this world. It really does, right? And we all know that money is something that is valuable. Okay, the first verse I'm going to show you today is Matthew chapter 6, verse 24. Very, very famous verse. And just says, no one can serve 2 masters. You either hate one or love the other. And then in the end, you can't serve both God and money. Okay, now what does this mean? So this thing that we have to figure out to ourselves is, what does it actually mean? This is only talking about when it becomes your master, okay? This is not about just money in general. Like, don't think money is important. No, money is important. If money wasn't important, then there wouldn't be a tithe. If money was important, there'd be no offering, right? If it wasn't really important, then it wouldn't matter. But it does matter. But what does it mean? It means don't make money your master, which is completely different, which means it is the thing that controls you, right? And this is where a lot of the mistakes in life happen. People go against their morals, their ethics, who they are. They lose their dignity if they make money their number one priority in life, where it's the number one thing that matters more than anything else. And that's something that we have to realize is money isn't unimportant. It's just that it shouldn't be the number one thing that matters more than anything else. Okay? So what do people do for money? Think about this. People kill for money. People actually do that. People kill for money, bully people for money, steal things for money. People will even betray their family, right? People will betray their job, who they are. You know, in Korea, I'll tell you something really, really sad there is, you have like these teenage girls who will sell their bodies. You know what I mean by sell your body. They will sell their bodies so they can get money to buy like name brand bags and clothes. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, and these are teenagers, like 14, 15 years old, who are going to be with like these really, really old men, but they're doing it for them. And this is what money makes people do if it becomes a number one thing. Right? Let me tell you this amazing research that was done on happiness, right? And they found out that money does make you happier. They did, right? This is true. So I'm not going to tell you that money doesn't make you happy. However, there is a limitation to how much money makes you happy, right? So money can only bring so much happiness. It can only bring so much, not a lot, right? It can only bring so much. So they said that, what is the cap? What is the cap of, like, from this point on, if you make this much money, you're not that much happier? And the answer is 75 to 80,000 US dollars a year, right? Which is double the average, right? So the average salary in America is about 40,000 US a year. So if you just double that, that is like, you would think it'd be like $1 million a year. It's not. It caps off at 75 to 80,000 US a year. So imagine you take the average, like I'm in Malaysia right now. What's the average? The average person probably making 3,500, 4,000 ringgit a year. I'm sorry, per month, right? Just double that to 7,000 to 8,000 a month. And that is the limitation of how much money can make you happy, right? So if you think about it, even money has a limitation. It does. It's not the end all. It's not the number one thing. Even if you look at statistics and studies and research that talks about job fulfillment, how fulfilling is your job, they say that money isn't even the top three. The two most important things for a very fulfilling job that you won't regret, number one is mastery, like mastering something, a skill or whatever it is. And number two is, guess what, is how meaningful it is, which means how much does what you do, your job, how much does it affect other people in a positive way? Those are the two things that actually make someone's like career a meaningful career, a fulfilling career, that they're like, wow, I don't regret this. Money's not even in this, right? So when you look at this, you have to understand is that money is important. It is, guys. I'm not saying it's not. This is something that I'm not going to say like, hey, money doesn't mean anything. It does mean something. However, it is not everything. It is not the master of your life, right? And that's the first thing. This is the thing that caused the downfall, where he traded in the Lord for 30 pieces of silver. Like, honestly, if you were to just mix and match it, wouldn't you want to do it for like 10 billion pieces of silver instead? But it was only for 30 pieces of silver. Let's go to number two. What is the second thing we can learn from Judas Iscariot's life? Number two is, it is the power of choice. Right? What do you mean the power of choice? Now, let's look at this. Judas Iscariot was already struggling with money, right? So he was already taking from the treasury. He was already doing these things. And these small, and I'm going to tell you something. Everyone has something they deal with, right? Everyone does. Everyone is struggling with some type of lacking. Everyone is struggling with something that they're not very good at in life. Or we call these, like these sins we have in our life. Everyone struggles with these things, right? And if you look at this, let's take a look at the, I'm going to show you a verse, a very important one, 2 John, chapter 1, verse 8. And what it says here is, it says, watch out that you don't lose what you've worked for, but that you may be rewarded fully. Don't lose everything for one moment, right? You can't lose everything in that one choice, that one powerful choice that you lose everything for, right? Think about it. How many times have you convinced yourself? You've convinced yourself to do something wrong, right? For some of us who are religious and have faith, we think, Satan's in our mind telling us this and this and this, right? Satan's like, oh yeah, do this wrong thing. And some of us, who are not faithful, we understand the fight in our mind. And that fight in our mind is telling us or convincing us not to do the right thing, right? So the question I give to you now, is what is that one choice that made him lose everything, right? Judas, so what is that one thing? Losing everything in that one moment. What was that one thing that made Judas lose everything? And we might think to ourselves it was betraying the Lord, but that's not the decision. It's not the decision. No matter what, Judas would have been, everything is recoverable. Everything is, right? So here's the thing. What made it that it was not recoverable and it became the ending and he lost everything? Well, let me tell you about two different people. There's like Peter and Judas. And at the end of Jesus's ministry, after 3 years, these two were in the exact same situation. Both of them denied or betrayed, right? Peter denied 3 times. Judas Iscariot betrayed the Lord. They both did it, and they both went off in a very sad state, right? But what's the difference? What was the choice they had to make after they made a fatal mistake? The difference was Peter recovered, he turned around, and he said he's going to do better. For him, he repented, he came back, and he said he's going to do better. Judas, on the other hand, his big fatal mistake was he committed suicide, or he died right after, right? That's the big choice, that one choice that you lose everything, because you can't come back after that, right? There comes a point where everything is recoverable until it's not recoverable, which means it's the last thing. There's nothing else that comes after this, right? They had the power of choice that Judas could have somewhat recovered. Of course, he had to pay the price for whatever he did, but he could have recovered in some way. Or he could have turned around and said, no, I can't do this anymore. And he could have been someone that went out and did some more amazing things, but he didn't do it that way, right? There's a power of choice that we have. You have to understand you can lose everything with one choice. And I'll even tell you one thing is I know several friends of mine, right? And some people I really respect who've actually been to prison before, right? Now, I've been a pastor, since 2014 now. I met tons of people. I met people who've been to prison before. And when you talk to the people in prison, a lot of those people aren't these lifetime criminals. It's just that one bad decision brought them to jail, right? That's the power of choice, right? And that's something that we really have to understand, how powerful your choices are. Now let's go to the last one, the third one. Last but not least. The third one is you got to do things until the end. And this is very, very interesting, because this is one of these mantras that you guys should always have in your head, is doing things until the end, right? Even if you look at Matthew chapter 24, verse 13, it actually says that. It says, but the one who stands firm to the end will be saved. No, not the one who stands firm until the beginning, not the one that stands firm just, at least for a little bit. It's until the end, right? The ending is such an important thing that we have to understand. The ending defines you, your ending. It does. Your ending does define you, right? How Judas Iscariot ended, it defined him in the end as someone who was the betrayer of the Lord. But if you think about this very carefully, he did some great things in his life. He healed people. No one talks about that. He cast out demons. No one talks about that. And he was a treasurer. No one talks about that. The only thing people talk about is he is the one that betrayed the Lord. That's how crazy it is. That ending point is such a big thing, right? That final judgment comes up in the end. Think about this in a school project. In your school project, even if you have one good moment during the process of the project, but you don't finish, then it doesn't count. Nothing counts. All those good things you did, but you never finish, it makes no difference, right? In the end, that final thing that comes out with is the accumulation of all the things that happened to get you to that point. You have to do it until the end. If you don't do it until the end, all the things you have are worth nothing. You have to think about this, guys. The core is always at the end. The ending is the defining point, right? Because how many times have we heard about these people who are so good, but at the end of the life, they kill 10 people. No one talks about oh, he was a good person, but man, he killed 10 people. Then everyone looks bad about this person, right? That ending, the core is always the ending. The ending always gives meaning. You can work so hard, but if you don't finish and there's no result, then what was the point of working so hard? But if you suffer and struggle, go through pain and suffering, but in the end you become the successful person, then all those things that you went through is worth it. That's why we have to finish well. You have to do things until the end. Think about this. Judas Iscariot never made that final choice until the last day, which means he made it all the way to Passover. And he only betrayed Jesus like the night before. It was the night before, if you think about it. All he had to do was just a little bit more, and he would have made it till the end. He wouldn't be known for this. But it was that last moment, right? Remember at Passover in the story, he says, hey, whoever dips this bread with me, Judas Iscariot does it together. And then he says, yeah, go do what you need to do. It was the night before that he made that decision. He just a little bit more and he would have made it, right? I hope that all of us here too realize that a lot of things in life that we're going through right now is we got to do things until the end, right? We really do. So I hope that this, even though this is a really sad story, but there's a lot of things that we can learn from this story too, right? What are the 3 things that we've learned? Number 1 is don't make money your master. Number 2 is understand the power of your choice. And last thing, we look at Judas Iscariot's life, it is do things until the end. All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining today. You guys are looking for the keyword because the iPad is coming on Thursday, but you guys want that keyword more than anything else. Thursday's keyword, you have to memorize this in your head. It'll be so easy. You'll remember it really, really easy. The keyword is TTBT1000. Taco Tuesday, Bubble Talk, 1,000 subs. Which means, right? TTBT1000, guys. Okay. When on Thursday, this is the keyword answer you need to know. TTBT1000. Remember, guys, if you haven't subscribed yet, you got to subscribe, hit the notification bell, and on Instagram, make sure that you follow me on Instagram. And then after that, you have this keyword now. And then on Thursday, we are going to give away a free iPad, even if there's just 10 people in this. Oh, there's 53 people today. But 53 people is not much either, right? 53 people is not that much either, right? So even if with the 53 people in this room right now, this live chat, 1 out of 53 is going to win, which is a gazillion times better than the lottery. It is a gazillion times better. It is a free iPad. Remember, the newest one that just came out, the 8th generation iPad, A12 Bionic chip. You could do 4K editing and everything else on there. It works with the Apple Pencil, all these other different things. All right, cool. That means it's time for the question and answer time, right? Question and answer time. So let's take a look at the question and answers, and we'll take a sip of your drinks, and we'll get into question and answer. All right. Okay. So let's go into the question and answers for today. Question and answer is, let's go to the first question today. Is all the way in Singapore. It is John. And John is asking, what about the things I failed at already? I can't get it back. So does that mean I end as a failure? Well, this is very, very interesting, right? So yes, there are some things that we failed in life and we can't get those back. So does that mean we end as a failure? And the answer is, it's not the end. Remember what happened is that when we talked about the power of choice today, we said that the choice that ended everything for Judas Iscariot was that he committed suicide or he died at the end. Okay? Now, what does that mean? Now, does it mean like, oh no, we don't, we're like, I didn't die yet, so does it mean I'm not? No. It basically means that if you look at just living life right now, what it means to die, which means to give up, right? If you give up on life right now, if you give up, then you've kind of ended as a failure. But you know what? We're going to make lots of mistakes in life. And just because we make a mistake, it doesn't mean that you are forever a failure. We fail at a lot of things. We got to get back up and we have to succeed at it, right? And we got to continue to get better and better. The only time we consider ourselves like a real failure is if you just quit and forget, I don't want to do this anymore, right? So yes, you failed. But more importantly than this is, are you going to kill yourself over it? I give up, I never want to do this again. Or are you going to get up and say, you know what, let's try this again. Or let's try something new, right? And one thing is to to end as a failure, it actually means you gave up and you're not going to do anything else anymore. Okay? Thank you so much, John, for that wonderful question. Let's go to the second question. That's from Malaysia, all the way in KL. Well, for me, I'm in KL, so in the same city as me. This is from Shannon. Shannon in KL says, do I just disregard money as a key factor of my career? How do I balance the career and money? This is a great question. So like I said, it doesn't mean money means nothing, right? It's like you're not going to sit there and all of a sudden just say, well, I only care about this and I don't care if I get paid zero. No. We don't want to be like stupid about it, right? Money does make a difference, right? It just can't be the number one factor. And I'll tell you, like, take a look at this situation and you'll know that that money can't be the number one factor. I'll give you an example. Let's say there's two different types of jobs that you really, really like, right? Two jobs and they both have pros and cons. Right? So imagine someone says, okay, well, I'll raise your salary just a little bit more. Like I'll give you like 500 more. But honestly, if money was a number one thing, you'd be like, yeah, I'll take it. But still, even if they raise it 500, we still think about saying, oh, I don't know. I'm still not sure about it. Why? Because there are multiple factors involved, right? The only thing that we want to make sure about money is that money isn't the number one, the thing that controls everything. Right? It shouldn't be the number one priority above everything else, right? So it's something that we do have to take into consideration. And for instance, when it comes to like, when you first start working, sometimes money plays a bigger role, right? Because you're just starting, you're gonna end up switching your job anyways. Sometimes the goal is to save up for a house, which means that you promise yourself, like, I'm gonna do this for 3 years to save up for a house or whatever it is, right? So there's lots of different things. But even if I take the job for money to save for a house, I'm not even doing it for that money. I'm doing it to get the house, right? So you see there's a big difference there. Money's not the thing, like, oh, money, only money. It's not like that, right? So you just don't want to let money become the master of you more than anything else, okay? Cool. Let's go to the next question all the way over there in the Philippines. This question is from Mirasol. Mirasol in the Philippines. Is the end as important as the beginning? And the answer is yes and no, and yes and no. So when we say the ending is important, is the core, that only matters is if you begin. But if you don't begin anything, there's no such thing as an ending. You know what I mean? Like, some people have slow starts. Some people have fast starts, right? So whether you start strong or don't start strong is not the important thing, right? Actually, just starting itself is very, very important, right? Whatever it is, regardless of starting strong or not, just starting. The ending makes the ending doesn't exist if there is no beginning, right? But once you have a beginning, then the ending becomes super important. Like, what is it all leading towards, right? So before you start anything, that beginning point becomes the first step. The most important part is you gotta start. But once you start, the ending becomes this thing that you're working towards, right? So is the ending important as the beginning? It depends where you're at. Because if you haven't even started it, the ending makes no difference because there is no end if nothing started, right? The ending only becomes important is when you start the journey, right? Is when you start it. And if I were to go into a drill or like a workshop with you guys, that's about how to start, like how to finish what you started. The one interesting thing is if you want to start really well, you need to know the ending really well. So that's why the ending is very important. Like for instance, even when I make like these talks and lectures, I have to have an end point. So when I started, I'm talking about Judas, but what's my end point, right? Because no one starts a journey not knowing where they're going. So even when you're starting a journey, you need to know where your end point's going to be. So you'll always start with the end, right? So when I'm starting a new journey, I'm thinking, where is this leading me towards? Why am I working for this? And then we move towards that, okay? So yeah, is ending as being good as is important? They're both important. But once you begin, the ending becomes this thing that you need to reach, okay? Let's go to, I think it's the last question for today from Yiling. Yiling all the way over there in KL. Yiling asks, sometimes we might have a vision such as pay back to society, which mostly needs money. How do we not then change to over-focus on money and forget the vision? Okay. So forgetting the vision means like, Yeah, you never want to forget the vision. So that's why you have to always remind yourself. Like, put it this way. Whenever I do a vision workshop, after you finish a vision workshop, you have your vision in writing and you put it on your wall. Like, you actually post it on your wall. Your personal vision should be on your wall and you should be reading it every day to remind yourself, why am I doing this? Right? Because like you said, a lot of times people forget their vision, which means the only way you stop forgetting it is you need some type of reminder. Like, for instance, if you want to give back to society, and let's just pretend it's like giving back, like feeding poor people in Africa. Then every day you'll have a picture in front of you. Like when you wake up, you have a picture of poor people in Africa. It reminds you, boom, that's why I'm doing it. That's why I'm doing it, right? Some people have like, those wristbands. What would Jesus do? Live strong. Like, they have those wristbands that reminds people of why they're doing it, right? So it's good to have these reminders all the time, because if you forget about it, then you lose everything, because you start to focus on money, you lose everything, right? So what's even bigger than that is you need to have constant reminders. Put it up on your walls, put it on your wrist, put it in your car, just whatever it is. And that's why a lot of these companies, like, when they do branding, like if I were gonna really brand Espresso with Sky, I'd be wearing an Espresso Sky shirt with an Espresso Sky band, with the Espresso Sky hat, and an Espresso Sky on my door. Like everything would be branded so you'd never forget who this company was, right? So you need to kind of brand your vision so you see it all the time and it always reminds you of what it is, okay? So yeah, this is something that a lot of people do forget, but you have to always bring your self back to why you're doing it in the first place, okay? Thank you so much for that awesome question, Yiling, which means that I'm gonna just put up it one more time. What is the keyword for Thursday, guys? Just make sure everyone understands the keyword is TTBT1000, which is Taco Tuesday Bubble Talk 1000, okay? That is your keyword for Thursday's free iPad giveaway. More than anything else, guys. Oh, and you guys also need to know that you guys need to be on YouTube. You guys need to be on YouTube to win, right? You guys got to be on YouTube just for the Thursday one, okay? So that comes to the end of today's Taco Tuesday. I'm so glad that you guys joined us here. More than anything else, those of you that like to support us support this ministry, you can go ahead to Patreon, and we have a Patreon account there. You can support us there. Or those of you who want to join us on Saturday 1 p.m., we have these small group Bible studies too. You guys can join us there. Go ahead and sign up when we put in the link. All right. So thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you guys have an amazing and awesome week, and we'll see you guys again on I'm pretty sure we're going to see you on Thursday. All right, everyone. Have a wonderful week. See you in 2 days. Bye-bye.